Okay, I'm going to begin, John, by asking, I mean, this is, of course, a remake of the Disney classic.
Yes.
And I was wondering, I mean, how much did you take from the original Kipling novel? Were you kind of drawing from that still? Or was this very much what you took from your own nostalgia and own kind of experiences watching the Disney classic?
Well, it's really a combination, because when I was hired, Alan Horn, who hired me as the head of Disney Studios, he grew up with the Kipling, and he always felt that there was an opportunity to lean more into the Kipling than the animated film had done. He was a bit older when that film had come out, and he was more connected to the source material. Now, in contrast, I was born in '66, the movie came out in '67, that was my context. I didn't know about the Kipling when I was a little kid, and I'm much more familiar with the animated movie. And so we found ourselves trying to use the best of both. I knew that from my experience in Iron Man, you got to make it for the fans, first of all. If you don't have them, you can't build on that. The days of make whatever movie you want, and the fans are a small group and doesn't matter, they don't buy a lot of tickets relative to the rest of the general audience, that doesn't hold true. In this age, especially of social media and people who are so avid in what they care about and so vocal about it, you're better served to pay attention to them. So it's just good business. And on top of it, I'm a fan. That's my taste. That's the type of film I prefer. I like when there's Easter eggs for me. I like when I'm rewarded for paying attention. And so we built out from whatever it was, the dozen images or songs or things that I remembered from the film and I knew were important. But what was so great about the Kipling is that there's this whole mythic resonance to it. There's this sense of history and importance. This is over a century old now. And so to draw from the Kipling as well, to give it dimension, was very helpful, and I think we straddled both worlds in a way that feels organic, and certainly Alan's happy with it, I'm happy with it. I think we found that line.
So how did it sort of all work? Because it's one of the most visually breathtaking films I've ever seen. I mean, obviously there was use of motion capture and CGI and using real animal movement. I mean, because I am an idiot, if you sort of explain it to me, that might be quite a broad explanation for everybody.
Okay, well, I pay close attention to movies that I like, and I really am curious about how they make them. And I've always been fascinated with the Pixar Disney animation process. I've known those guys for a while, and I was always the batting average of those movies is so good because they spend so much time in the beginning getting the story right. And so we took the front end of animation, and there's no computers involved at that point. It's artists, it's pencils, you take, you put it together in show reels, you get temporary voices in, and you watch the movie in very raw form. And at Pixar, they'll do like 8 versions of a film. And if it plays in that version, you know that when you get the digital stuff in, it'll be great. So we had our story. Then we did a motion capture shoot where we had the kid in the suit, we had people dressed up like animals, you'd have like 2 people as the bear in motion capture suits, and that would all get entered into the computer as though it's a bear walking, a double biped rig that we had. And then once we did that, we would set the camera, so we made the whole movie almost like they made Avatar, right? But it looked like a big video game, looked like a Halo, looked like you were playing a video game of Jungle Book. Low res, but you got the sense of where the cameras are, what the movie is, the edit. And then we finished that. Then when we liked that version and the studio liked it, we then filmed the kid on a blue screen stage. If you've ever seen behind the scenes on Gravity, that's where we drew a lot of inspiration. We had very specific lighting based on each shot. We would move the camera specific to each shot. But it was really like an element shoot where everything was geared around the visual effect of that moment. And then I had to make sure that the kid gave a good performance. But my background's acting. We used puppets. We used other actors, sometimes me, to get that great moment out of the kid in the midst of that shot that fit into the visual effects world we're building. And we would have tiny cookie cutter sets that weren't much bigger than this room. And when you put that together, the footage that we shot, again, we never went to the jungle, we never had real animals in the movie. You put it all together, it integrated seamlessly, and then Weta and really the lead house was MPC, a house here in London, animated it. Andy Jones was the supervisor, and we had people who had a background in animation that used the performances, because we had, the step I skipped was we recorded the voices as well. And you put all those things together and you get something that seems extremely natural. And hopefully it just seems like we just went into the jungle with real animals with a camera. Long answer to a short question, I'm sorry.
No, but it's only because the film's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was just wondering, what gives you kind of the pleasure and assurance, and that deems it a success in your eyes? Is it a critical response, a box office? Is it your family saying, "John, this is wonderful"? Where did you draw that from?
I've had films where it's been critically thought of, but then it hasn't done well, and it does feel like you didn't connect with your audience completely, although a lot of it's not in your power. I've been involved with films that do well at the theaters, but aren't critically embraced, and that feels like, because the critics feel like they feel like you're professors. They feel like when the critics like your movie, you feel like you're doing a good job. Like you feel like you're getting a good report card grade. So I do like that. A lot of people say they don't read it. I don't read them closely because there's so many of them. But I do, the ones that I do see, it means a lot if they get what I was going for. That's when I'm happy. But ultimately, it's how the audience feels. That's really if they embrace it. In films like Elf, where they play every year, or Swingers, where people keep watching it, those mean more to me because they stand the test of time and people create a relationship with them where they keep going back to them.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.